Hola, mi amigos. It's Dora. No, it's not. It's Crypto with Klaus. And today I've got some stellar news for you. We're going to talk a little bit of Soroban, smart contract action, as well as is the industry guilty as a whole, or are there good players in there? Let's talk stellar ecosystem. And Gary Gensler and the SEC could do one thing, everyone. One thing to make this crypto mess all a little bit more clear, but he's choosing not to do it. And Sam Bankman-Fried, December 13th. Get your popcorn, set your reminders. He's going to the Hill to testify to Maxine Waters. So quit touching yourself and instead touch that like button. The heat map, should I keep it or get rid of it? Comment down below. The U.S. Department of Justice reportedly investigating FTX CEO for siphoning funds out of the UTS. According to a Bloomberg report, the federal investigation aims to examine SBF's involvement in improperly transferring FTX funds to the Bahamas as the defunct firm filed for bankruptcy on November 11th. The anonymous informant further revealed that Department of Justice officials met with FTX's court-appointed overseers to discuss the scope of the information they need to make this investigation happen. Which brings me to Maxine Waters and Sam Bankman-Fried. She did not need to issue a subpoena. Instead, he is going to come, but he said he's only going to comment on things he has knowledge of. Expect a lot of likes, ahs, I don't knows, I can't say. This is the CEO of the company. You are responsible for that company no matter what happens. It's under your umbrella. But remember, December 13th, Maxine Waters is going to be grilling SBF. Is he going to get away unscathed? Is this going to be like a dog and pony slap on the wrist? That's kind of my feeling on this. And remember, December 13th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time is what, everyone? CPI data release. Yep, and we're going to be live streaming that to see the markets approach. Now, Gary Gensler and the SEC could do one thing that would make all of this way more clear. What is it, everyone? No, it's not walk off of a bridge. No, I get that. No, what he could do is make a clear set rule, guideline. Which cryptos are securities? Which ones are commodities? Now, let the courts fight it out. But as of right now, they're not doing that. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine wanting to open a company, run a company, a business, and yet you're like, dude, seriously, you don't even have regs for what I'm trying to do? You know, like in my town, in my county, if I wanted to start a business, I talk to the city. It's pretty easy. I know who they're able to talk to. I could then talk to the county for blessing. And they've got rules publicly posted where I could go, hey, if I want to run this business, I have to meet this and this and this expectation. We don't have this in crypto. However, despite his aggressive cryptocurrency regulatory stance, Gensler, for the most part, has remained mum about several key issues that the digital asset proponents have been talking about for a long time. For example, the SEC has still failed to clarify which cryptocurrencies be considered securities, stating time and time again that most cryptocurrencies in the market today are securities, but they're not saying who. What kind of regulatory ambiguity is this? How can we properly run and operate businesses in the United States when the heads of regulatory bodies out there aren't even giving us any clarity on what the rules are? So Gary Gensler, if you want to make things better, just make a split thing. Hey, this is is that. Let's move on. We'll let the courts fight it out. But as of now, we're just going to keep delaying, which is hurting crypto in Web3. Why? A lot of big money is going to stay on the sidelines until there's regulatory information, right? More strict guidelines, and until we get some clarifications on what's a security versus what's a commodity. Now let's get into Stellar talk, everyone, because that's right, I'm wearing the Stellar hat. At Meridian 2022, an audience member asked, hey, is this crypto winter industry self-inflicted wound? As a whole, that would be yes, because we've learned that a huge majority of the players out there have been running scams, schemes, and grifts, and greed has been running rampant. But there are some good players out there, and Justin Rice has a really good closing statement. Let's listen to it.
Short answer, I think it was inflicted by people in the industry, but not the industry as a whole. I think there's a difference between certain people who are building certain things and others, and it's important to differentiate.
That's right. There is definitely a difference of chains, people building, and what their actual ideas and motives are. Now, Stellar, you're going to hear a lot about Soroban coming up, and don't worry, as always, any article you see in this video will be linked in the description below. Soroban, right, they're in the whole testing of it. And what's interesting about that, that's smart contracts. Now, a lot of these exploits, a lot of these hacks have happened on the smart contract route. So you're seeing Stellar take their time doing this correctly, step by step by step, $100 million investment into Soroban. Now, the important thing about that is they're doing this to prevent problems upon launch, right? This is all done through testing phases. So where other protocols out there have launched, people have seen the bad coding, they've been able to exploit it, they've been able to hack it because it was rushed crap, right? In order to just increase massive profits. Oh, see what I'm saying? Stellar's doing it the right way. They're building it slower, and I know it's frustrating. But so far, the way Stellar has done it has been the right way. Now, that being said, right, what is the effect of Stellar in the marketplace with the whole FTX thing? A lot of it has to do with trust. And I've got a stat here that I want to show you. See this liquidity number right here sitting at 13.1 million? All right, we're getting all this information from StellarX. At one point in time, this number here was over $60 million. So that's 75% or more of the liquidity pulled out of the projects on the Stellar chain. Now, we've seen other protocols out there lose 90, 95, 100%, just full drains, right? But the broader crash, right, of Celsius, Luna, FTX, and all that has really weakened the amount of support in these ecosystems. And I also wanted to bring up, look at the low amounts of volume. You could see there also isn't a lot of volume going on within these liquidity pools. So is Stellar to blame for the liquidity pool, getting less and less and less in action like that? No, but bad actors within the industry have brought the entire industry down. That's why we need the regulations. That's why I brought up the Gary Gensler story, because could you imagine if we had clarities on what's a security versus what's a commodity? Then the CFTC would know who to go after, the SEC would know who to go after. If you were a crypto company, you could then say like, hey, wait a minute, I'm considered a commodity, let me go to the CFTC for blessing. You wouldn't even waste your time with the SEC. But we don't even have that step yet, and that's the basis of all these crypto arguments out there. What's a security versus what's a commodity? I did a story earlier about Ripple Labs and their fight with the SEC. Super important for all of us. Why? Because if Ripple Labs wins, that's the biggest shield, the biggest defense for crypto to say, Gary Gensler, you stay away. Now, if they lose, though, that is open doors for the rest of crypto to be regulated by the likes of Gary Gensler and the SEC, in which we've seen they can't even determine what's a security or a commodity. That video, which is extremely important, which talks about the delays, which is the strategy of the SEC, those delays cost you money. Now, people out there are saying, hey, wait a minute, Klaus, Ripple is valued at $15 billion. $150 million court case is pennies to them. Everyone. That's a $15 billion valuation. That doesn't mean they have $15 billion of cash on hand. So keep that in mind, because burning $150 million in court costs means what? You aren't putting money into your product, into your chain, into the development. That money is going to the lawyers. So the SEC wins just by draining them. So if you want to check out that video and learn more about that premise, that's right here for you. Otherwise, as more Stellar news breaks, I'll be sure to share it with you. Until then, have a great rest of your day.